It has been said that young people are the future of any country or any world. I believe that's true, and if you do, then together we know that we must invest in our young people. One of the best ways we can invest in them is by obtaining the booklets from the drugfreeworld.org Truth About Drugs campaign. The booklets, especially on marijuana, come in English, of course. This is something that is out there and is talked about a lot in the media, but it also comes in Spanish. And then there is a book that is a compilation book. And this one is very important because it covers things like alcohol abuse, ecstasy. We know that cocaine, crystal meth are things that are dangerous. Inhalants can be abused, and also heroin, LSD, and even prescription drugs. So it's very important to get these booklets that give information about what these drugs and what alcohol abuse will do. They don't say don't take them, which oftentimes turns young people off. They tell everyone who reads these booklets what this kind of activity will do. And in that way, we're investing in our young people and investing in the future of our country and this world. Just go to drugfreeworld.org and get these free booklets right away. And welcome to another segment of We Have the Power. I'm your host, Brian Gardner. We are expecting to have a guest joining us in a little bit by the name of Bruce Wiseman, who has worked extensively in helping to stop psychiatric abuse. And when he finishes with a previous appointment he had, he will come and join the show. If not, we'll have him on a future show. So until Bruce comes and joins us, by the way, get those booklets. Those are very handy. You can't have a powerful and strong and bright and aware country and population when people are abusing alcohol or taking drugs. Those booklets are free. They're very important. So, of course, the recent events most people are concerned about on one side or another is the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And let me start with the darkest end of that. I find myself feeling, as most of us have, that it's a bad dream where you can't run, your car won't start, and there's someone chasing you, you've run out of money, some horrible thing in the dream, and you wake up and you go, oh my gosh, it was just a dream. I do have money. My car runs fine. I can run, I can walk. But while you're in the midst of that dream, it's pretty depressing and it's pretty all-encompassing, And that's the way I feel. I can't believe that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Regardless of what you think of his views, I think most of us who are intelligent and ethical and decent individuals will say, because he wasn't proclaiming, let's lock everybody up, from a certain race or for a certain ethnicity, or kill this group of people like Hitler and people like that. It was a pretty decent individual, and we should not be assassinated, harmed, ridiculed beyond a certain point for the views that we hold. Certainly, a person has a right to say, I don't agree with that person. That's their free speech. Or I do agree with that person, even if their family says, why do you like that person? Why do you not like that person? But to shout people down, to make a threat like has happened on many college campuses where a conservative speaker is scheduled to talk, and maybe this person just is conservative, they're not crying out for any outrageous actions to be taken against anyone. But certain groups of young people who maybe aren't even students at the college threaten to have a huge riot. Then the administrators from the college say, well, we can't afford the overtime police, so I'm sorry, Mrs. Jones, Mr. Smith, we're going to have to cancel your talk. That is suppression of freedom of speech, which our Constitution guarantees to us. The young people that threaten online to have this big commotion that then the college campus would have to keep many of their security people overtime, That is simply a way of stopping free speech. And these individuals who take this kind of action have been perverted by what they've heard from, let's take this example of them getting a conservative person speaking. They've been perverted in their thinking by what they've been presented by the media, using their phones, information, and they no longer believe in free speech. They believe that free speech only can go so far. If you're saying things that are negative, then you don't have a right to have free speech. Now, let's go back to the Constitution for a moment. Our founding fathers, who used manners and decorum and decency and ethical activities, didn't feel it was necessary. My gosh, they didn't feel it was necessary to put judgment next to these rights that we have. Certainly a person could say, I can yell fire in a crowded theater and I'm exercising my freedom of speech. Well, are they really? There's probably, one percentage amount that they are exercising their freedom of speech. They have a right to speak. But when you take a look at the content of what they're saying, which could have people trampled and injured rushing out, or if they said there's a bomb in the theater, people rushing out, somebody, elderly person getting trampled and killed, then judgment has left their exercise of their freedom of speech. Now, we can't have judges either saying, well, in my judgment, what you said, I don't like it, and so we're going to, not let you say that. But certainly judgment has to be used. You can't really yell fire in a crowded theater when it's not there. You can't pretend that, you're a policeman and use freedom of speech saying, well, I'm just talking. I'm saying I'm a policeman. And, that there is a way to, say that you're a policeman when you're not.
I don't know what the trouble is, Brian. I'm sitting here at the side. I'm watching you talk. I can hear you. I can see my picture.
Just one moment.
But apparently you can't see me. I don't know what's up.
So I think we had some technical difficulties with Bruce Wiseman joining the show today. So we will fix that and we'll have him on a future show, because for one reason or another, here he is here now. Here he is. There you are, Bruce. We did make you into the show. Fantastic. I was just working on some dialogue on some current events. So glad you could join us, ladies and gentlemen. Bruce Wiseman, right here.
Yeah, thank you. My pleasure. Whatever.
I'm so glad you made it in.
Yeah, well, so am I. I was sitting there listening to you talk and hitting all kinds of buttons. Life used to be simple.
I know. Let me tell you. I have a band, and the stuff we have to go through today to more order to promote the band is stuff that my son, who's younger, helps me with. So let me start by introducing to the viewers who you are. You are the U.S. President Emeritus of the Citizens Commission on Human Rights, established in 1969 by the Church of Scientology. CCHR has been investigating and exposing psychiatric abuse and psychiatric violation of human rights for more than 30 years. You have testified before bodies of both houses of the U.S. Congress, as well as state legislature and judicial bodies in several states, including Colorado, Arkansas, New Jersey, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, and Florida. You also testified before the President's Commission on Mental Health and the President's Commission on Reform of Special Education. You were instrumental in the passage of federal legislation that prohibits schools from mandating that children take mind-altering drugs as a condition of attending school. Thank you very much. You have made more than 801 now, radio and television appearances, including the Donahue, Fox, National News, and NBC's Dateline, and has been quoted in print media across the country, including the New York Times. You are a graduate. You have a graduate degree in American history from the California State University at San Jose and are the former chairman of the Department of History of John F. Kennedy University. It says here that you do find time to sleep and eat. That's amazing. No. You are also the author of a compelling book, Psychiatry, The Ultimate Betrayal, which people should get who are parents who have kids in school, and is the host of a weekly radio show broadcast on the Talk Radio Network. Again, welcome to We Have the Power, Bruce Wiseman.
Well, again, thank you very much. I'm delighted to be with you, Brian.
Yeah, I wanted to start off by giving you a quote that I wrote down someplace to use on a future show, but I want to mention this quote because the person that said the quote, unfortunately, was assassinated recently. And, you know, Charlie Kirk said that this generation is the most infused with drugs, psychiatric drugs, and other medication than any other generation in history. And it shocked me knowing that I would have you on the program, hearing that statistic.
Well, it's the truth, and it's a tragedy.
Yes.
We have, Brian, today over 6 million kids, 0 to 17, on psychiatric drugs. 400,000 of those are children 0 to 5, infants, for Lord's sake.
Yeah.
So Charlie's right. It's something that the Citizens Commission on Human Rights has been working on for some time.
Right.
The legislation that you mentioned that we got passed a while back.
Very good.
Certainly a blow to that, because we were at the time we were getting calls into the organization from mothers who couldn't get their kids into school unless they were on psych drugs. The kid, you know, it's like, what planet are we on? You know, the mother's trying to get the youngster into school, young kids.
Right.
No, he's got to be on Adderall or Ritalin, or I don't know if they have the brand names, but
yeah.
The child couldn't go into school unless they were on a mind-altering drug. So
Yeah.
we went to Congress. It's a drill getting a bill passed through the House, through the
Oh,
Senate,
I'm sure.
and signed by the president. But we got that done, and
That is great.
that can no longer occur. A school cannot demand that a parent put a kid on a psych drug. Yeah, thank you.
That is good. Now, I want to go back in time for a moment because my contention is, and I would like to get your feedback on this, I believe there is an entity of individuals who are antisocial, who are working behind the scenes, have garnered a lot of power of various media outlets, and there was a significant situation that happened that really, I think they remember to this day, even if it's their kids who had passed this nonsense onto. But in the 60s, before mass amounts of young people were taking any drugs, and they were being told they had to go fight a land war in Asia, young people had the mind ability to go, wait a minute, I want to look into this. And they looked into it and found that the war in Vietnam was nothing more than a way for Bell Helicopter to sell more helicopters and the military-industrial complex to be able to, you know, they wanted that war to go on for another 40 years. They were making so much money. More bombs were dropped on Vietnam than in the entirety of World War II. So what they did, and Timothy Leary came out as a avowed CIA agent, you know, what they did is they said, we got to stop these young people. 500,000 people were in Washington at the biggest anti-war protest. Young people thought they lost the revolution. They brought that war to an end way before the military-industrial complex that made all the money they wanted from it. So they said, whoa, we never want our young people to be that bright again. We never want them to be that aware again. So destroy the school system, get psychiatry into the school system, you know, push pot, you know, get Timothy Leary saying, tune in, turn on, drop out, because we want young people to go back into the woodwork so we can have wars wherever we want, make all the money we want without these freaking hippies stopping us from losing billions of dollars. And now we come forward and we spend the most on education, and we are one of the worst as far as our young people being able to read at grade level. And we have ludicrous laws, like you just mentioned, that are further ruining our young people.
Well, it's a crime what has happened to American education, as you mentioned. I think you mentioned. I don't know.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I have a teaching degree. I did teach way back in the day, in the early years that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But what has happened to American education is treasonous, Brian. It's disgusting.
Right.
The mental health industry, psychiatrists have wiggled their way into education. They have taken out phonics.
Right.
And in 80, I think it was 89 or 90, they voted in a mental disorder called ADHD. Now, your listeners may or may not know, but there is a book called the Diagnostic Statistical Manual. It's got 300, and I think last time I checked, 64, 300 some odd mental disorders.
Mm-hmm.
All of them are voted in. They sit around a table at the American Psychiatric Association. How many think ADHD should be in the book? It's a show of hands. There's no science.
Oh. Can I tell you one that's in that book that I heard about? When a woman is raped by a psychiatrist, she will go to the media or the police to report it. They have a mental malady that's tied in with that very scenario. Can you believe this?
I know most of the bizarre stuff in there. That one I didn't know, but it doesn't surprise me at all. These people are predators. 60 by one survey, 67% of psychiatrists sexually molest their patients.
67%.
So this is a so-called profession which has no basis in science whatsoever.
No.
It's important to understand that, because most people don't understand. They think there's a bunch of science to psychiatry. There is none.
Right. Now, an example I like to use, Bruce, is you go to your mechanic and you say, my car is unmanageable. It makes a bunch of noise. Well, you need to tear the engine apart, find out what's wrong. No, I don't want to spend that money. Just put Gunko in the engine, get this car more manageable. And he says, okay, but when you pull the engine apart in 10,000 miles, you're not going to like it. He says, I don't care. I want my car more manageable. So he pours the Gunko and the guy goes, oh, my car's not, it's driving better now, Well, I equate that to, and if any company has Gunko, I'm not attacking you, but what I equate that to, the kid is very bright. He's bored in the school because nothing's happening, and they make the kid more manageable. But they haven't found out the underlying problem, why he's having any problems.
Yeah, I mean, parents, some parents send their kids to school with a bowl full of sugar. The children are not taught to read properly, and they act out. And so the teacher and the school psychologist, the teacher doesn't label, but refers the kid to the school psychologist, right, who now says you've got ADHD. What are the indicators of ADHD, Brian? The kid butts into line. He interrupts the teacher. There's no CAT scans. There's no blood tests. There's no x-rays. There's no urinalysis. No science at all.
Right. Now, I heard, we both of us know about Applied Scholastics, the worldwide educational system. I heard a report from them that many kids will come in and start getting the educational training and clearing things up with their studies from Applied Scholastics. And the kids are acting out. They're having problems. They sit down and they find out what words those kids have been exposed to in their studies, and they use a method of getting those words cleared up and understood, and the bad attitude goes away. It is not ADHD. It is they are frustrated with their studies, if a rocket scientist tried to talk to me, I'd want to go, can I go take a break and get a burrito? I mean, I don't really want to listen to you, because of the words, the nomenclature, right? So applied scholastics is proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that if you clear up the misunderstoods in the study, the bad attitude goes away. Well, the psychiatrists don't want to hear anything about that. They've actually suppressed letting applied scholastics work in the school system because they want to continue their power and their influence by saying, no, it's ADHD. You're clearing up words won't fix it,
And you've got, I repeat, 6. Let me give you exact numbers because
Sure.
We checked it out.
I don't know if I want to be that depressed. Go ahead. No.
6.155852. Almost 6.2 million youngsters on these drugs, and it's treasonous, it's barbaric.
Right.
The child is taught that they can't learn unless they're on some mind-altering drug. And it's not just the ADHD drugs, of course, the amphetamines. A lot of these youngsters are on SSRIs, so-called selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, kind of a mouthful, but those are the antidepressant drugs that studies tie to acts of suicide and violence.
Right. And the worst thing I've seen is that cardiac dyskinesia, comes from psychiatric medication. Now they have a medication you take that apparently stops the shakes, but that medication can cause you to have suicidal thoughts. It's kind of like, the bad mechanic put Gunko in your car and it runs good for a while. Now the car's starting to act up. Now he puts Gunko 2 in there rather than fixing what's really wrong with the engine.
It's unbelievable because I've seen that drug that you're talking about advertised. They drug the child or the adult. They get tardive dyskinesia, meaning they get uncontrollable shakes.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got the solution to that is another drug. So they cause the problem and then have another drug. It's all we both know it's all about this.
Oh yeah, and the reason psychiatry can be so criticized is they really don't know how to fix mental health problems. Like the mechanic who said, let me tear your engine apart. He knows engines. He knows how to fix that car. But psychiatrists don't. So the only way they can justify their existence is to make the kid look more controlled by drugging him so badly that they don't have any more energy left because they don't know how to fix the underlying problem that's causing them to act out in class.
Absolutely correct. Something that may shock you, and it won't shock you, but
you never know.
I mentioned this book, The Diagnostic Statistical Manual, that's got all the mental disorders in it. Well, the 3rd edition of that book said in the introduction, we don't know what a mental disorder is. We can't tell one mental disorder from another mental disorder. We can't tell a mental disorder from no mental disorder. They admit it right at the beginning of their book that they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Right. Amazing. Now, another thing that we have about 5 minutes left, and I want to say 2 things. We'll give away for people to reach you or reach CCHR, but I want to try to have you on every 3 months to see how things are going. The other thing I want to say is that Charlie Kirk was being interviewed by California Governor Gavin Newsom. And I usually call him Gavin Newsom, but I'll refrain from saying that more than once, But here's the thing. Gavin Newsom said something really scary because Charlie Kirk wanted to take young people and move them into a more rational mindset. And he said, let's try to move it a certain number of points. They moved it way further. He was way more successful in getting kids to turn away from pot and all these different things.
Right.
And Gavin Newsom said something. If I was a police investigator, I'd say that's a motive for murder right there. Not that Gavin Newsom had anything to do with it, but it was very interesting. He said, Carville said we should back off for a while. We're not going to back off, Charlie Kirk, and let you turn 1, 2, 10,000 people away from the Democratic Party. No, we're not going to let you do that while you kick us in the face. We're going to stop you from doing that. Well, he has been stopped from doing that, but he was turning people away. And imagine how freaked out psychiatry must have been if there's a body of young people that tell their parents, I'm not taking that crap. No way. And the parents say, you are not going to force us to put that crap in our kids' bodies before they go to school.
Yeah.
He was making a difference.
He was making a difference. He was definitely making a difference, and he was making a difference in the right direction. And, I heard today his wife has taken over the CEO of the Turning Point USA. Right. So onward with that good work and the elimination of psychiatry, mental health treatment for children. Most of these legislators, Brian, you say the word mental health, they think it's something good. Sitting in a chair talking to someone. No, mental health means drugs or shock. That's psychiatry's tools. Right. Drugs and shock.
Right. People have asked me, we still have about 2 minutes or so, but people have asked me, isn't this topic controversial that you're talking about? The military industrial complex and all that. And I say, here's what's controversial. A baby born addicted to heroin, sending thousands of volts through a person's brain to try to make them better, filling up with drugs that have terrible side effects, and you can't even get off the drugs unless you are weaned about at this pace.
Most people don't understand that about 100,000 people a year get electroshock still in this country. They think electroshock.
Did we lose our connection with you?
Psychiatrists still do.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
Yeah.
Say that again. We lost your connection for a second.
I was just saying that about 100,000 people a year get electroshocked in this country. People think electroshock went out with cuckoo's nest. It didn't. Psychiatrists run hundreds of volts of electricity through someone's brain, and they call it therapy, Brian.
Right. Yeah. I heard about an economist who had some depression. They did that to her. She ended up not even being able to do simple math anymore. Yeah. Terrible, So we've got just about a minute. So how can people reach the Citizens Commission Human Rights or you? And then I want to say that to our listeners, I will have you back about every 3 months, and we'll talk about further actions. Parents must be aware, and CCHR has some wonderful publications, right?
We have great publications. We have great videos. There's a tremendous amount of information on the website, which is cchrint.org.
cchrint.org. Okay.
Int.org. There's a huge amount of information up there. Anybody that's interested in this subject should go there. They'll find a lot to understand, study and understand.
Yeah, they should be interested if they have kids in school to protect them from this kind of travesty.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for the work you've done to stop some of this already. There's more work to do, and I can't wait to have you back in 3 months and see what's happening. Tell your wife, thank you for being on the show. We'll schedule the other one on the water location. And thank you again for everything you're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been We Have the Power. We're live every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific Coast time. You can look at previous shows and this one by going to the prconnectionsradionetwork.com. Let me remind you that every person has a responsibility on how this world turns out for now and for the future. We have the power, and we can make a difference. Thank you, Bruce, for being on the show. Thank you for watching today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.